Let's begin with a staff briefing from Ms. Baker.
Thank you, Chair Hansen. Good morning, members of the committee. For the record, Yelena Baker, staff to the committee. House Bill 1652 relates to child support pass-through. By way of brief background, as a condition of receiving benefits under the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families program, a family must assign its rights to child support to the state during the months that the family receives TANF benefits. Assigned child support collections are retained by the state and the federal government as partial reimbursement for the TANF assistance. Federal law requires the state to pay to the federal government a certain portion of the collected child support. This is known as the federal share, and it varies by state. Current federal share for Washington state is 50%, meaning that the state is required to pay to the federal government 50% of child support collected on behalf of a family receiving TANF assistance. The state is permitted to retain or pay to TANF families the remaining 50%, known as the state share. Federal law also allows the state to pass through up to a certain amount of collected child support to TANF families without having to reimburse the federal government for its share of the child support collected. And this is known as the child support pass-through. If the state implements child support pass-through, the state must disregard the child support collection paid to the family in determining the family's TANF eligibility. Current federal limits on child support pass-through are up to $100 a month for a family with one child and up to $200 a month for a family with 2 or more children. In Washington, beginning in early 2021, the Department of Social and Health Services began to pass through to families receiving TANF assistance up to $50 a month for a family with one child and up to $100 a month for a family with 2 or more children. House Bill 1652 requires the DSHS to pass through to a TANF family all current child support and child support arrears collected on behalf of the family each month beginning in July 2024. The DSHS must disregard and not count as income any amount of current child support and child support arrears passed through when determining eligibility and the amount of assistance. That concludes my remarks. I'm happy to address any questions.
Thank you. Questions for staff? Okay, Representative Taylor, by Zoom, tell us about your bill.
Thank you so much, Chair Hansen and members of the committee. This is a very simple bill. Really, what we want to do is get all of the child support money into the hands of the custodial parent who is doing their very best to take care of their kids. It probably is very relieved that there is some child support that is coming through, but frustrated that they don't get as much of the dollars as they anticipate or expect because they are also receiving TANF. And right now, as you can imagine, everyone is squeezed pretty significantly because of the rising cost of everything. Oh, for the record, my name is Representative Jamila Taylor, 30th District. And I wanted to make sure that with this bill, we can get more resources into the hands of families so that they can stretch their dollars even further.
Great, thank you. Questions of the prime sponsor? Okay, let's hear public testimony. Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We'll start in person with Alex Herr, Jake Hughes, and then we'll go remote to April Mazur and Amy Rourke.
Great, and we're going to do 2 minutes for people today, please. Go ahead.
Good morning, Chair Hansen and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Alex Herr, testifying on behalf of the Statewide Poverty Action Network in support of 1652. I'm very privileged to say that I had a chance to work on the original legislation back in 2020, where we implemented a partial pass-through. That was a policy that erased a recession-era decision that was made to stop passing through a full amount or even a partial amount of child support payments made by a non-custodial parent to a custodial parent who happens to be on the TANF program. While we were thankful for the partial implementation with the passage of Senate Bill 5144, which I'd like to remind this committee was a bipartisan, unanimous vote bill that got to the governor's desk, we're coming back to say it's still wrong that the state continues to take a portion of child support to basically pay for a public assistance program that the state already receives federal funding for. We made this case back in 2020. However, due to budget concerns at that time, we only implemented the partial pass-through of $50 per child with the maximum of $100. This proposal would say if a father, in this case a non-custodial parent, pays $500 a month for child support, to the custodial parent who is on TANF, that full $500 should reach the child. The state shouldn't be taxing that amount. We are hopeful that this is a year that we undo that bad policy that, again, was put into place for budgetary reasons, and that we ensure that the families are able to make sure that their basic necessities are met. And in fact, the research has shown us that when we do pass through more of the child support, more people actually pay the child support because they know that it's getting to their child. So thank you very much and appreciate your consideration.
Thank you. Ranking member has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Hur, this is a shift, though, and it shifts some exposure, at least to cost or cost, onto Washington taxpayers who are also struggling. So the logic of the partial pass-through from a couple of years ago still holds true. Why should we change that policy now?
I actually would not characterize it as a shift. For example, the TANF program is a program that the state receives federal funding for to implement, correct? And so what has been frustrating to us advocates is that oftentimes, particularly since the Great Recession, as a caseload has been declining, the federal funding has continued to outpace what the state actually spends on TANF. Oftentimes, that bucket of money that's left over in that gap is then swept into the general fund.
Great, thank you.
This policy should be implemented and reduce that gap. And so it's not necessarily a shift, it's actually spending the federal funding dollars for what it's meant to do in the TANF program and make sure the child support is passed through to the custodial parent.
Great, thank you. Let's hear further public testimony. Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We will bring up Jake Hughes in person.
Thank you, Mr. Hur.
Good morning, Chair Hansen, members of the committee. My name is Jake Hughes. I'm the Chief of Policy for the Division of Child Support in the Economic Services Administration. And the purpose of today's appearance is simply to try to answer any questions that the committee might have for the Division of Child Support. And that concludes my testimony.
That's the best public testimony of the entire day. Does anyone have any questions for our colleague? Okay, hearing none, thank you for being here, for your courtesy. We'll hear further public testimony remotely. Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have April Mazer and Amy Rourke. See both of them.
Great. April Mazer, please feel free to proceed.
Yes, good morning. So I appreciate the time and consideration being here. I'm April Mazer. I'm a social worker for the Benefits Legal Assistance Program at Solid Ground in Seattle. We're a legal aid program that represents people in fair hearings with DSHS, DCYF, and the HCA. And I'm here in support of House Bill 1652. This bill would positively impact our clients because it would increase the financial stability of children and families living in poverty. Currently, we have a client that has been trying to get the non-custodial parent to pay child support for years without any luck. She specifically applied for TANF because she knew that the department would help her get child support started for her family, but has been on TANF for 2 years now and has only received a few $100s in child support. The state retained the rest of the payments. By allowing recipients to collect full child support, and TANF clients can more quickly gain financial stability and transition from public benefits, which is ultimately every party's goal. On behalf of the Benefits Legal Assistance Program and the direct staff at Solid Ground, I would like to ask for your support on House Bill 1652.
Great, thank you. Questions? Great, let's hear from Amy Rourke. Please.
My turn?
We can.
Great. Good morning, Chair Hansen and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Amy Rourke, and I live in Vancouver, Washington. I'm here in strong support of House Bill 1652. I'm an advocate and a member of the Poverty Reduction Work Group and a mother of 2 children who have used TANF to pay for essentials. In February, after modification to our child support order, my child's father was ordered to pay $715 a month in support. As I was on TANF at the time, my children and I only were allowed to receive $100 of that amount, and the other $615 was kept by the state, meaning that the state received 6 times more than my children. Another time, before the Great Recession, when I was on TANF, if my children's father was unable to pay his monthly support, I would still receive errors during tax season when they were removed from his tax return and passed along to me. This was a financial boost that I would look forward to help pay for whatever my kids needed. This bill would also fix the errors would be passed to the families again, instead of kept by the state. Child support should be used to support children. As simple as that. If my family was able to receive the full amount of support in addition to the help from TANF, we would be more stable, build up savings, and worry less about how to make ends meet from day to day. Please support House Bill 1652 and make sure that the children get their full support. Thank you.
Thank you. Question for our testifiers? Okay, that will conclude the public testimony and conclude the public hearing on House Bill 1652.